State Representative Cody Harris of Palestine. Thank you for being here with me today. Talk to me about House Joint Resolution 7, a constitutional amendment that voters will have their say on in November.
Yeah, Michael, thanks for asking about this. It's a really important issue for all of Texas, but especially East Texas. As the author of House Joint Resolution 7, what I did is make sure that at least half of the funds will be allocated. So just to give you a simple overview, it's $20 billion over the next 20 years, assuming that there will be a sales tax surplus revenue. If there is, then then $1 billion per year will go towards water funding and infrastructure. So that will be split into two different pots. 50% of the money will be used for new water supply, and that specifically excludes fresh groundwater. So for the groundwater aquifer fights that we're having right now in East Texas, this money cannot be used. It's constitutionally stated that it cannot be used to access fresh groundwater, which we have here in East Texas. The new water supplies that this is going after is desalination, saltwater desalination at the sea, or in the ocean, in the Gulf of Mexico, or Gulf of America, and brackish groundwater desalination. All over parts of Texas, we've got literal oceans of salty groundwater, further out west and down into South Texas. And that's the next level that I think we need to go to, in order to make sure that the rest of Texas has the water that they need and leave our fresh groundwater alone, basically. The other option is to go outside of the state for that new water supply fund, to look at Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, different states who might want to sell us their water. And so the other half of that bucket is for infrastructure. So, we've got so many different rural water systems throughout East Texas who are struggling just to keep up with all the broken pipes. Well, that's what the other half of the $1 billion is going to be used for throughout the state, is to help fix our existing infrastructure.
So just to be clear, this is $1 billion every year. For how long, and can it be at any point more than $1 billion? Just to clarify.
That's right. It's $1 billion per year for 20 years. And then at that time, it would expire in a future legislature, and the people of Texas would have to re-ratify it if they wanted to extend it. That also goes for if they want to make it more than the $1 billion a year. That would have to be put to the vote of the people of Texas after making its way through the legislature.
And if I read the bill correctly, there was something about, $46.5 billion would need to be exceeded. Talk to me about that number, what exactly it means. You might have alluded to it earlier, but just to clarify.
That's right. So that goes back to assuming that there will be a surplus in sales tax revenue to the state. And so if there's not, or if we find ourselves in a budget deficit, then this money just doesn't exist. This fund doesn't exist. There's nothing for it to come from. So it's only for when we have a surplus that this $1 billion comes out of a specific slot. I believe it's from the 18 to $19 billion range. And so, that's after we've paid for everything else that we already have allocated. So the property tax reduction at the local level that we've done, that we will be able to continue to do, that makes sure that stays a priority.
Do you anticipate, being able to use this money then? Do you anticipate, revenue exceeding the amount that would be required for this bill?
Yeah, so luckily over the last several years and sessions since I've come into office, we have had a revenue surplus. That's what we've done with that is put it towards property tax reduction at the local level through compressing local school district property taxes and through M&O. And border security is another big area that we've spent some of the surplus on. And so this is for the future of Texas. We've got 30 million people here now, over 1,300 people a day moving to the state of Texas. We are the economic engine of the United States. And in order to keep that up, we have got to make sure that we've got water infrastructure in place to supply that. And we need to make sure that they can get that water from other areas and not just East Texas groundwater. So that's the whole purpose of this constitutional amendment is to make sure that we have the money and that we push it to that next level away from East Texas aquifers.
What, specific infrastructure could you see being built if this were to go through, if voters were to approve this?
Yeah, primarily the infrastructure is going to be for existing water supply systems. So if you're like in my home county, we've got so many different little rural water supply systems, whether that's Nature's water supply or Pleasant Springs, different things like that. These guys have just a few hundred or a couple of thousand meters that are on their system. They've got residents who are on fixed income, so they can't raise rates in order to pay for the maintenance and operation of those existing pipes. So that's what this half of this money is for, is to go to help the local water supply corporations and cities and utility districts to be able to go in and do that deferred maintenance that they haven't had the resources to do for so long.
And if I heard you correctly, you mentioned that groundwater, East Texas groundwater, will not be impacted by this bill. Why was that important for you to make clear?
Yeah, because in my role representing East Texas, I knew it was important to protect East Texas groundwater. So we built in a very explicit exception into the bill to say that this money cannot ever be used on new water sources coming from fresh groundwater.
Are there any criticisms about this constitutional amendment that you've heard that have stood out to you? And what would you say to those concerns?
Yeah, just that it's not enough money. We're looking at a $54 billion shortfall in water funding over the next 50 years. And so this just is the tip of the iceberg on what's needed to provide that water that we know we're going to need into the future. And that's why it's such a critical first step for us to take. To make sure that we can continue to be the economic powerhouse of the United States and continue to support families who want to call Texas home and want to be part of our rich culture and heritage. We welcome those people here, and we need to make sure that we have the water in place to do that. And that water can come from places like the coast, from seawater desalination or brackish groundwater desalination in other parts of the state, not fresh groundwater in East Texas.
If you feel as though this is just the first step, what would you like to see done in the future if this amendment passes?
I think, in the future, we will have to, assuming that we continue to have economic growth and surpluses come in, it doesn't have to be constitutionally dedicated funding like this is, but, we're going to have to continue to put more monetary resources towards water development in the future. And that's just a simple fact. Whether we continue to grow or not, the number of people that we have here now, we require more water than what is currently available.